Well, good morning. This is the Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee of Tompkins County, and it's Thursday, June 12th, 2025. I'm Michael Lane, the chair. We're joined in chambers by Legislator Veronica Pillar, Legislator Randy Brown, Legislator Shauna Black, and Deborah Dawson is excused this morning. Changes to the agenda. We've got to add some resolutions. There's I want to add a contingent fund appropriation, Department of Social Services 2025 budget adjustment to increase for client transportation. I want to add a resolution authorizing sub-recipient agreement with the Tompkins County Consolidated Area Transit, TCAT. I want to add resolution authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance of the State Mass Transportation Capital Program aid, eligible costs of mass transportation projects described in New York State Department of Transportation agreement. And also resolution authorizing subrecipient agreement Gadabout Transportation Services, Inc. Any objection to those? Do we have any public or any other changes to the agenda? I'm going to move TC3 up right after we do the minutes. Any public comment this morning? Don't see anybody either in chambers or virtually. Let's take the minutes of May 8th, please. Someone want to move those? Moved by Randy, seconded by Veronica. Changes. I just noticed one small thing, and I think we started at 9 a.m., although I would have liked to have started at 8 a.m.
I'll second that.
All right, should we vote on those? All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. This morning, I'm pleased to have representatives from Tompkins Cortland Community College, which is our shining star on the hill in Dryden, New York, the crown jewel of Tompkins County, of course. And we have President Amy Kremenek this morning, Dennis Panagitsis, we have Roxanne Buck, we have Sue Dale Hall also, that which we got a nice contingency. And they're going to talk to us about the budget. Amy, go take it away.
All right. Thank you, Mike, and good morning, everyone. We appreciate the opportunity to be here to present our 25-26 operating budget that has been approved by the Board of Trustees. I'd like to start out by recognizing our board members who are here. Roxanne Buck, a trustee and appointee of Tompkins County, and Sue Dale Hall, who is a gubernatorial appointment also from Tompkins County, and Dennis Panagitsis, who is the chief financial officer for the college. So we did bring along a few slides, and so I'll start with the second slide. Are they going to go up on the screen? Okay. And I believe we handed out copies to everyone?
Yes.
To the members of the legislature?
Good.
Okay.
Here it comes.
All right. So I'll go to the next slide, please.
We'll get there.
You want me to keep going? Okay.
Why don't you wait just
give
a
it
second?
a minute? Okay.
Well, we've got the paper in front of us. Well, here she comes again. There we go.
Okay. All right. So, Prior to getting to the details of the budget, I do want to give everyone an update on the progress we've made at TC3 over the course of the past year. To start out, I'd like to give you an update in terms of enrollment. As I say, so goes the college, so goes enrollment, and vice versa. So we've been working really hard over the course of the past couple of years to really grow and strengthen the enrollment of the college as well as the retention. Fall 2025, we are seeing extraordinary, truly extraordinary numbers. Currently, our headcount for enrollment, and this would be for the fall 25 semester that starts at the end of August, is up nearly 28%. I've never seen numbers like that in my entire career. So why is this? We think there's several reasons for it. The first is that 2 years ago, we invested in a strategic enrollment planning process, which for community colleges is somewhat new. This is something that four-year schools have been doing for quite some time, but for community colleges, it's pretty new for us. So we engaged with a consultant called Ruffalo Noah Levitz, who specializes in enrollment management, and worked with us cross-college process to develop a strategic enrollment plan. And we think that that is in large part, the reason that we are seeing these extraordinary numbers. But there are other reasons as well. The strategic enrollment planning process led to a redesign of the enrollment process. One of the things that we know is that sometimes getting into college and figuring out how to get into college can be almost as confusing as what you are doing in the classroom. And we really wanted to address that. We believe that the hard work for students needs to be in the studios and the classrooms and the labs, not in trying to get through our processes. So we redesigned the processes, and in course also redesigned the Panther Welcome Center, which is really our front door, our one-stop for the college, so that as students are coming in the door, they're not being shuffled from place to place. The idea is that they come in, and in one stop, they can get their services and get everything that they need in order to enroll at the college. We've also been very strategic with our use of data. We have a system called Slate, which is really a state-of-the-art processing system, student information system, that really allows us to streamline processes much more carefully and efficiently for students as well as for our staff. And by deploying that system along with some strategic use of technology, we're able to develop personalized communications for students. We have a more proactive, what we call territorial management. So our recruitment process, we have really done a very deep dive into the areas where students tend to be interested in TC3 and also tend to enroll, and really focusing the energy of our staff, our limited staff, in ways that it can be most beneficial to the college. And then finally, SUNY Reconnect. You may have heard about the free community college program that was just introduced this year, starting with the governor, and then it was passed by the New York State Legislature, which provides free community college for adults ages 25 to 55 who do not already have a degree in 9 high-demand, high-needs fields. And I can tell you our phone is literally ringing off the hook. We received over 300 phone calls in 2 weeks for this program. So sometimes adults, their time horizon to make a decision is a little longer because they have to get their life in order, but we're seeing really strong dividends from this program. So we're hoping that 28% holds. Our streamlined processes mean sometimes that students are registering earlier than what they normally would, but we also think that there are new students coming to the college as a result of this program. Next slide, please. So this is an historic look at our enrollment. What you don't see yet, though, is 2025. So the 28% number that I mentioned is not reflected on this graph. But what you can really see is where the college was prior to the pandemic and the impact of the dramatic impact of the pandemic on TC3 as well as all community colleges across the state. We had a recovery, starting to recover in 22 and 23. We had a slight dip in 2024, but as I was saying, the numbers that we are seeing now, I expect that this curve is going to dramatically move in the upward trajectory for 2025-26. So as I come back to you in the future, we should see this curve start to increase. Next slide. This is our enrollment by region. So let's see, my slide is black and white. So the green and the blue that you are seeing on your screen, those are what we call the sponsor counties. So that's Tompkins and Cortland County in the green. And then the blue is what we refer to as the donut counties. So if you were to think about Tompkins and Cortland counties being in the middle of the donut counties are those that surround us. So essentially the contiguous counties to our two home counties. So the vast majority of our enrollment, nearly over 80%, comes from the two counties and then our immediate surrounding counties. And when I speak about the territorial management, that is really where we are seeing our most, what we call conversions. So students who are applying to the college and then ultimately enrolling, we see our most significant increases from those two areas. In addition to that, we have a smaller proportion of students who come from other areas of the state, New York City, Long Island, and downstate, as well as Western New York, and we have a small contingent of international students. And given recent news and recent policy decisions that have been made, those numbers are currently declining. Next slide, please. In terms of our academic program mix, this is something that we've been focused on over the course of the last year. We are working right now on a process for program review. We have over 40 academic programs and revitalizing those programs to ensure that they're well aligned with the needs of the region. We do have a new program feasibility process, and what this is about is identifying ways that we can find those new programs that are most in demand, and then to have them go through a process so that they will be reviewed by our board to ensure that they are in line with the needs of the college as well as the needs of the students in the community. We will have very soon a new Associate of Science transfer program in the health sciences. Currently, the only program that we offer in the health professions is nursing, and it's extraordinarily popular. We receive over 400 applications a year, and but we cannot take that many students. That is a space-limited program. The Associate of Science transfer program will be designed to transfer to places like SUNY Upstate and SUNY Cortland. We met recently too with Ithaca College, that this is the first 2 years essentially of a bachelor's degree in the health sciences. We have new transfer agreements with Cornell, with Hobart Williams Smith, and Syracuse University. There are many four-year institutions who are very interested in our students and accepting them on for a bachelor's degree. We recently the board approved the deactivation of our culinary arts program. What deactivation means is that it gives us the opportunity to take a look at that program and ensure that it is meeting the needs of business and industry, and also for students in that for jobs that require an associate's degree. We want to be sure that when students are investing in associate degree programs, that the fields to which they are going into, they're being rewarded for that degree. And so our faculty members are looking at that program to find ways to better align that with that purpose. And then our general studies certificate will be discontinued here in the near term due to the fact that it's largely an elective-based program, and we want to be sure that they're leading to a credential, whether it's for transfer or direct to work. On the workforce development side, we do have a number of programs that I'd like to highlight most recently. One is a certified nurse assistant program. Nurse CNAs are in high demand in business and industry, and we have a summer program that is taught by our nursing faculty for CNAs, and they're about to graduate a group of 20 students here in the next 2 weeks. We do offer pre-apprenticeship programs working with local businesses. Borg Warner is one where they send their employees to us for workforce training through a pre-apprenticeship model that is in part funded by SUNY. We have an advanced manufacturing partnership working with Ithaca Area Economic Development, a new CDL training partnership, commercial driver's license. I feel like this is alphabet soup. CDL program with TST BOCES. And then I'm also really pleased to mention that we have a new partnership with SUNY Upstate where EMT training will be coming to our campus. It's also available at the Ithaca Mall. But we know that there are students where the Ithaca Mall isn't quite as convenient, and so we've been working with SUNY Upstate, and they'll be bringing the EMT program to us starting this fall.
Next slide, please. Good morning from me, too. I'm going to start with analysis of our budget of 2025-26. The first slide is describing it's showing in a graph our revenue analysis. As you can see, and I have mentioned before, the state education law describes that the community colleges of the state should be funded about 1/3 by the students, 1/3 by the local counties, and 1/3 by the state of New York. In our case right now, as you see, we have our students pay for about 39% of our total revenue. 28% comes from the state, and on the left side, the yellow and blue pieces of the pie, 14 and 17% makes about 31% comes from the counties. 14% comes from the two sponsor counties, Tompkins and Cortland, and the rest comes from our county chargebacks. There is a very small amount, about $800,000 that we expect to get out of other grants and uses of our campus, rental income and other stuff. And this year we're going using a very, very small amount of fund balance that's less than 0.1%. Next slide, please. The next slide shows our expense analysis. As you can see on with the two blue, light and darker blue pieces of the pie, the wages and fringes cover almost 75%, above 70% of our expenses. This is the largest amount for us. There's an 18% that's for contractual expenses that encompasses all the everything, all the other expenses for the college. 10% goes to tuition scholarships to offset our tuition that we get from students in concurrent enrollment. And a very small amount, about $100,000, goes for equipment, less than 1%. The next slide, please. The next slide, you can see the operating budget as it was approved by our Board of Trustees. As you see, I have listed on the middle column the 2024-25 budget, this year's budget, and on the right-hand side column, I have the 2025-26 column. The biggest difference, as I described before, is the approved use of fund balance, listed in yellow, highlighted with yellow. And as you can see, it's about $1.1 million lower. We're trying to be responsible in the general environment of uncertainty and really not use any of our fund balance for next year, very, very little bit. I'm going to stay in this slide, and I'm going to make some highlights to underline some things about the budget. There is a 3% reduction in expenses that resulted in $1.1 million less in use of fund balance. We have about 11% decrease in non-personnel contractual expenses. This budget assumes 1.7% increase in tuition. Currently, as you will see in another slide, we're the 9th highest tuition rate of the 29 SUNY community college. And out of our sector, I take out the fashion institutes that they're in New York City and they're in different status than all the other community colleges. I want to remind you that the state aid level has been the same since 2019. There is a small reduction in rental aid. That's why you see a reduction in the total amount of the state aid in this budget. The sponsor county contribution also have been the same since 2019. We have worked hard in order to reduce our footprint. We're disengaging from, as a college, from the extension centers. The foundation keeps the Ithaca Extension Center, but we're looking for other tenants. One of them will be Tompkins County and Cultivare. There is a positive net effect of about $600,000, which help us a lot with our expenses. And also we have worked with our Faculty Student Association to reduce expenses by about 15%, and this will help a lot for us in the future. The next slide, please, and the next one. I have gone through all these. Over here we have, I have tabulated all the SUNY community colleges. Again, I took out the fashion institutes, and I have 29 community colleges. They're sorted by 2025-26 tuition rate on the far right side. And as you see, highlighted in yellow, there is Tompkins Cortland Community College. We're about 9th from the top, and out of 29 community colleges. The next slide, please. I made a table showing you for the last 10 years our fund balance. And as we started very low, I want to make sure that I mention here that SUNY suggests that we have a fund balance, unrestricted fund balance between 5 and 15%. Our current fund balance in the end of this year, we expect to be about $4.3 million, which is about at 15% of our budget. So we're within those parameters, but we feel that it is a responsible thing to do, not use any more fund balance, try to defend it because of the uncertainty of the environment, the general environment.
Okay.
Next slide, please.
Thank you, Dennis. So just to conclude our presentation, as we look forward to the upcoming year, I did want to note that our board will receive this month the updated college strategic plan. We're calling it Sustaining a Vibrant Future, focused on the next 3 years. There are 4 pillars along that, which includes alignment of transfer and career programs. It includes accountability, it includes transparency, as well as our infrastructure. That's something that we'll need to continue to invest in. But overall, our continued focus is on enrollment growth, really trying to rebound from the depths of the pandemic impact to the college. And then also increasing our retention. We want students that are coming into the college to finish their degree, move on, get jobs in our local community, as well as transfer on for bachelor's degrees. We're going to continue to be working to align our programs, both our academic degree programs as well as our workforce training programs, with the needs of this region. We're very fortunate, and this county has invested in the workforce development operation of the college, and we greatly appreciate that. Those investments are paying off. We are also earning additional grant funds through SUNY to help support the needs of the workforce operation. As Dennis was talking about in terms of strengthening our financial position, we've made some decisions to ensure that we have a fund balance, particularly given so much uncertainty in the environment, so much uncertainty in the economy. We feel it is prudent, and the board feels that it is prudent to make sure that we have dollars available for the rainy day. Hopefully the rainy day doesn't come, but if it does, we want to be prepared for that. And then finally, we've been working over the course of the past year on a facilities master plan, which this county also invested in that plan, and the board will receive that in September, and then we will bring that forward We expect that that will include as much of really looking at our systems and the infrastructure, that the non-sexy projects, as I call it, things like elevators and boilers, as much as really especially looking at our classrooms to make sure that our classroom technology in particular is strong for the purposes of teaching and learning, which is the core purpose of the college. And so we'll be bringing that forward to you later this fall. But we appreciate your time, we appreciate your support, and thank you.
Well, thank you for that enlightening presentation. Let's open it up for questions. Randy?
I don't want to be always the first one. So you talked about the increased enrollment. How do you feel about your capacity to take on additional students over the next few years, and your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you for that question. We feel at this point that the college is well positioned for that. We have our facilities we have capacity within our classrooms for that. We also have an excellent cadre of adjunct faculty who have been loyal to us through the years that we will continue to utilize for those purposes. We've also worked on optimizing the schedule so that students can really piece together a course of study that fits for their lives and their schedule, and ensuring that we are looking at class occupancy so that the classes that we are offering are being filled to capacity versus adding additional sections, which would require additional staff.
Do you feel that transportation is a barrier at all for people?
I do, yeah. Transportation is one of the biggest challenges. You know, our students, we tend to serve students who have economic challenges, and if they have their own vehicle, you know, they're likely sharing it with someone else, and so that becomes a problem. We have benefited from Cortland County's investment in Centro, which is the regional transportation authority for Central New York, and they've added additional routes. They've also worked hard to try and align their schedule with that of TCAT so that students can, those who need to transfer from one to the other will find an easier way to do that. But I still think there's a lot of opportunity for us to improve the transportation infrastructure for students, and that particularly, you know, it's not necessarily always a matter of convenience that I have to wait 2 hours. It's that they have to get to work, and they don't have 2 hours to stay at school while they're trying to get to their job. And so as much as we can do for transportation, we would be grateful.
Thank you.
I had a couple of questions. I wondered if you could speak to the deactivation of the culinary program and cultivare in particular, and what that means, just so everybody knows, and you know, whether the restaurant will ever reopen, those kinds of things.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So cultivare has been in place since 2014, as I understand it. And, you know, over the years, it's kind of ebbed and flowed. More recently, it's been ebbing, not flowing. And, you know, part of that, I think, is the impact of the pandemic on the entire industry. But the way that cultivare was set up by the college was that there was a cash flow issue with the college was spending about $450,000 a year on rental support for cultivare for the academic program. At one point, the culinary program had 50 students in it, and so we could justify those numbers. But over the years, it had shrunk to less than 20, and many of those students were part-time. So the math didn't work. The restaurant was designed as essentially a for-profit type of operation that was run by paid staff, and that had lost about $300,000 in one quarter most recently, and those are dollars and that was on the backs of the foundation. That's not something the foundation can sustain over the long term. The purpose of the foundation is to raise money and support students, scholarships, the food pantry, all of those things that students need to be successful. But the drain on that on the foundation was just unsustainable. So I made the decision that the college could no longer operate a restaurant, and so what we are doing now is looking for a partner to be able to open that facility. Unfortunately, we are in a 30-year lease, so we are in year 11 of a 30-year lease, and we need to find someone to hopefully be able to sublease that property. I think everyone who lives or enjoys Ithaca would like to see that corner operating again, which I would too. It's just not something that the college can do. The culinary program is, in their re-envisioning, is also considering other locations for them to have this program, but most importantly, making sure that it is aligned with workforce needs and workforce needs that require an associate degree.
Thank you. The other thing I wanted to ask about is, I know you had a proposed budget earlier, which would have asked the two counties, Cortland and Tompkins, to increase their operating support, and that did not seem to sit too well with, certainly with Cortland, as having their own financial problems up there. Could you explain what's different about this budget than what you were originally going to propose, since the sponsors' operating aid won't be going up?
Right. Thank you, Mike. So our plan, we started the process in the late fall. We hosted members of both legislatures on our campus. We had had conversations with the county administrators, with the budget offices of both counties, as well as our board. And our plan was to have a tuition increase, which there is, 1.7% tuition increase for students, and then to request a 5% increase in operating aid from the counties. As Dennis said, that aid amount has not increased since 2019. So we felt it was prudent, particularly given the concern about rising tuition. We are 9th highest in the state in terms of our tuition. We're also very concerned about the TAP threshold. So students who qualify for full tuition assistance program, or TAP, through the state, the max amount that they can receive is at $56.64.
Right, correct.
Right. So for the neediest students, I know our board feels very strongly about this. We want them to have their tuition covered. And so we are now at that TAP threshold. So if we go over that, then that will no longer be the case. So that's why this 5664 is so important. That being said, Cortland County determined that was not something they were able to support. And given the fact that we cannot go with one county, not the other, we need both by state law, we are foregoing the request on the sponsoring contribution. And instead, our board made a difficult decision that we will instead cut our budget rather than, thankfully, increase tuition further on students.
Thank you.
I may add that this amount, the total amount, was about $245,000, and that's the amount that we had to cut from our budget, and we will do it through attrition in personnel.
I'm hearing that the grants for Pell might be cut. How would that affect us if that were to happen?
So I think they're looking at a number of ways that they can address the Pell gap. One is to require students to enroll full-time at 15 credits versus 12. That is a concern that we have for students enroll for 12 credits for many reasons. Some cases we have students with learning disabilities, we have students who are working, we have students, well, all of our students nearly are working, other responsibilities, but currently the proposal is that students must enroll for 15 credits in order to be eligible for full Pell Awards as full-time students. They're also looking at students who are enrolled less than half-time will not be eligible for Pell any longer, which is a concern. We have many students who enroll part-time for the same reasons that I spoke about in terms of part-time. But any limitation in access for the neediest students certainly has an impact. The tenet, the priority, the very reason for our being is to really help students, help communities move from lives of poverty into lives of success. And for those who are most needy, not being able to access Pell dollars, which they can also utilize, at least in its current form, not exclusively only for tuition, but also to help support some of their living expenses. And being a full-time student is a full-time job, I can assure you of that. And so that is absolutely a concern. I think some of the programs that the state has come up with, such as the free community college for adults, will certainly help, but it does put more pressure on the college and more pressure on our foundation to raise the dollars that are needed so that students can be successful, because we will not shy away from that mission.
It's just one more thing that we're hearing that can affect us all, coming down from the haulback of funding that has been built up over many, many years to support our educational institutions. Other questions or comments from folks? Well, why don't we go ahead then and take the resolution authorizing the public hearing for this budget. Someone want to move that? Veronica's moved it, Sean has seconded it. Shall we have discussion about that? Don't hear any. Guess we're willing to have the public listen to your budget. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. And we need to adopt the budget, or a resolution to adopt the budget, rather. Adoption of the 2025-2026 operating budget, Tompkins Court Community College. It's ID 13283. Someone want to move that? Veronica, Randy? Any more discussion here? Randy?
I just want to thank you for keeping the budget flat, because we don't know where we're headed here for this year. And it was nice to see the review of your fund balance to understand that better. So thank you.
Shauna?
I guess I just wanted to know, I think in years past what we've done, we've been in the same situation with the other county, and one of the things that we've supplemented in your budget has been a position. I want to say it was a professional position, maybe an IT position. And I was wondering, is there another way that Tompkins could help the college sustain their budget, perhaps not dip into your fund balance, so that you're sustainable for years to come?
In previous years, it's correct that Tompkins County has given us funding through grants. We called it grants, and we got for the big problem is that we need for the sustainability of this college for our future to get the support from both counties. It would be great, and we had discussed that possibly Tompkins County could give us that 5% increase their portion, and we will appreciate that. We will find a way to use that. It's really important for the future to not do one-offs, but get sustained support from both counties. Currently, we're getting about 14% of our budget from the two sponsor counties. This is approximately 24th or 25th in the state of New York amongst the community colleges. We're very low. The counties pay less than if they would have to pay the chargeback rate that other counties pay. So while we would definitely appreciate and welcome this, it would be great if we can work with Cortland County, and we do appreciate the sentiment from Tompkins County to get sustained support and raise this percentage for the future.
I guess my question is there a one-time capital expense that could be purchased by the county? And again, I'm just one of 14 at this point, but I'm just thinking of ways that you can allocate other funding to other places.
Yeah, we really appreciate that and have appreciated the support of Tompkins County over the years for that purpose. We will be coming forward with a capital request. One of the most pressing areas right now is our student information system. It's called Power Campus. It's about to go into what they call maintenance mode next year, and then within 18 to 36 months, it's going to go end of life, which means it will no longer be supported, cybersecurity issues, all of that. So we need to make a decision on that. We are hopeful that we will gain some dollars from SUNY to be able to replace it, but for certain there will be expenses for that, both in terms of all of the software and all of that we need, as well as the consulting support to move all of our current data out of Power Campus into another system that is then fully supported. Technology is obviously key, so we will take you up on that,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roxanne,
This is not a budget-related comment, but if I could.
go ahead.
Yesterday afternoon, I was on a Zoom call with trustees around the state. You all have been very supportive of our efforts as trustees against the chancellor's and his mission to have more input into presidential selection at community colleges, as well as their contracts and that sort of thing. Association of Counties has been on board with the trustees as well. So very recently, the SUNY Board of Trustees rescinded their earlier resolution. So for the time being, we're back in the mode of how things have worked over the last, number of years. However,
That's quite a bit of news.
well, it is. However, there's a big but to this. What that has done is they will be opening up a 2-month period of time for public comment on the previously approved resolution by the SUNY Board, which is at the request of the Chancellor, of course. So that will open up on the 18th of June, and it'll be open for 2 months. There'll be a website that people can go on and put their comments in. So once we get that information specifically, we will share that with you, and certainly as sponsors of TC3, you have a vested interest in how those things happen on our campus, and would hope that, you all would render some support for rescinding fully what the Chancellor is trying to do. So, thank you.
Appreciate that update. Sue, was there anything you'd like to say?
No, thanks.
Okay, are we ready to vote on this? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. I also put on the agenda to talk a little bit about the appointment to the vacancy on the TC3 board. We put out a press release soliciting applications for the Tompkins County appointment that has gone vacant, that formerly Arthur Kukas had that position. The time for responses is, I think, 4 or 5 more days, and we already have 5 or 6 applications, so people are responding to it who have an interest. I noticed that Ithaca Journal picked it up, front page in the Ithaca Journal, our press release, so that was a good thing. And what I need to know from our group is how you want to proceed to review these applications once the application period is closed. Does the whole committee want to get together? Do we want to have a couple of them, or is there 3 of us or something like that? Look over them, and then eventually we would schedule with the whole committee an interview sessions for these people.
How's it been done in the past?
Just that way.
Okay. Okay.
I can't remember whether I know the whole committee interviewed, I don't know. Katrina, do you have anything to add that I've forgotten?
We recently did something similar with the library board.
Right.
Where the committee chose 2 or 3 members of the committee to review the applications and bring a recommendation back to the committee. And that would be my suggestion, to follow that process.
Have any volunteers? I would certainly be glad to do it. Veronica? Shauna?
Sure.
Randy, you want to do it too?
Reason enough.
Okay. All right, then the three of us will, once the week closes, we'll get them all together and we'll review them and decide what we want to recommend to the full committee. So we're trying to get it done. I don't think we'll get it done for the first meeting in July, or well, I take that back. We don't have a first meeting in July, do we?
No, we don't.
We have one meeting in July, and whether we'll make it for that or not, I'm not positive, but it's underway. Roxanne?
I was just going to offer, I know in the past, occasionally, you've directed people to me. I'm sure Sue would be happy to as well, but to talk with people about what it's like to be a trustee at Tompkins Cortland. So if, that offer is out there, if you want to do that with any of your candidates.
I would just point out maybe for the public who's listening that there are different kinds of trustees on the TC3 board. Tompkins County, our legislature gets to appoint 3. Cortland County Legislature gets to appoint 2. The governor gets to appoint 4, and generally 2 from each county. And then there is a student trustee. And I don't know whether legislation is that might have a new non-voting trustee appointed by the faculty. I don't know whether that's been approved yet or not. Okay, that was just a proposal. So we'll still stay with the 10. The 4 that are appointed by the governor usually are recommended by the governor's party. Is how those work. And we've always had very, very good appointments, no matter which party was in office. That's all I have about that, unless anybody else has anything else. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for spending part of your morning with us.
Thank you very much.
All right. I really don't have much of a chair's report this morning, other than we're going to need to think about this second retreat we had planned having in July, and I don't know whether that's on Norma's list of things to talk about or not, but something we want to keep in mind, that we were planning to do that after the last retreat. Veronica, anything from Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee?
No update today.
All right. Then let's go to Norma. Norma, you're going to be Norma Jane, our Deputy County Administrator.
Of course, I was
Glad to
here.
have
And
you.
thank you. And I see Course is on as well, in case he has something he wants to add. I wanted to report that we are collecting, departments are submitting their budgets. They're all due on June 20th. We'll begin having reviews of budgets with the county administrator in July. So things are moving along there. Yes, we have I was just looking for the schedule. The end of the month, we'll have another budget retreat. It is on July 23rd, and we'll have that.
Is that a date you picked?
July 23rd.
It's on my calendar.
Okay.
I don't know how it got there.
And we have that scheduled at the conference room in Brown Road.
Where?
Rice Conference Room
At what time?
at 5:30. And just to let this committee know, we will, the departments are submitting their budgets within their line item budgets, whether they're a maintenance of effort request or an enhancement. So when you're looking at the budget this year, it will look maybe a little bit different, but hopefully a little bit less in response to questions last year. Hopefully it'll be a little less confusing because everything will be in one budget and with an explanation of what those new requests are and the amount. So it'll be just a little bit different than we've seen in the past. The OTRs won't be showing as completely separate budgets. Everything will be in one budget this year. So hopefully that's going to make things a little bit clearer for folks to review.
Questions for Norma? Randy?
Is June 20th, is that earlier than normal?
A little bit earlier, yes. And we're making, thanks for the question, Randy. We've made some accommodations for folks who have to go to advisory boards for additional information. So we know that some of them may be just a little bit late, but we're requesting, I think most departments are able to get their budgets in by the 20th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, I didn't have that on my calendar for that retreat because I see it's a conflict with the Historical Commission, but we'll make it work.
Okay, thank you.
Drew Brayman is our interim finance director. How are you this morning?
Doing well, thank you. Good morning. We're transitioning with Lori leaving us last week and continuing to move forward many of our initiatives. So if there's any questions on that, please let me know. There is the report that I worked with Lori on for the casino revenue in the packet, starting on page 22, and I'll give a couple highlights. This first quarter, we did see 616,000 come in, which is up from 603,000 last year for the first quarter, which is a 2% increase, which is a little bit nice. It's also 29% of our budget, so we always budget very conservatively on the casino report, so we did exceed the 25% we would expect for the first budget. If you go down in a couple pages, you'll see the breakout between Del Lago, which tends to be our largest contributor to the casino tax, and Tioga Downs. Tioga Downs did have a couple events and had a pretty major concert in the first quarter, showing some of their revenues are up slightly. Del Lago actually showed about a 2.5%, 3% decrease in their collections. They're attributing that, I believe, to the opening of other casino opportunities and gambling opportunities in the state. So where Del Lago has been a draw, much more so a draw across the state than Tioga Downs has, I think they're seeing more competition in that area. At the same time, we've seen Turning Stone. I don't know if people have followed the news on that, but Turning Stone is embarking, I think, I want to say 500 or 700 more rooms, and doubling their conference and meeting space for events. So we may see some motion for upstate residents going over there as they build out bigger and bigger. It's absolutely huge. I was over there earlier this year, and they were already big, so they're going big. That's all I've got at this point.
Veronica?
Can you remind us how the casino revenue is apportioned to different counties?
There is a set percentage that's received by the host county, and then the counties that the state came up with a formula and the counties that they draw from. So we actually land right between Del Lago and Tioga Downs. So we get a little bit from each one.
Thanks.
Yeah, there are several counties in a region that participated with that. I heard this morning that I think they're approving a casino in the Bronx.
Yes. We've been a big draw up to the Finger Lakes region for city residents. And I think there'll still be a draw because there's so much more to do here, but I know coming from the museum world, that was always a big draw to try and get New York City residents up because you have so many people in that area. And they're typically bus tours, so.
Anything else for Drew? Thank you, Drew. You know, I did have something on the chair's report. I know what's going on in my mind. I'll come back to it. Now let's go to our Human Resources Commissioner.
Good morning.
Pulliam, welcome.
Good morning. Just a few announcements before Larry reports his numbers. Several of us attended the New York State Association of Personnel and Civil Service Officers early June in Saratoga Springs. And the State Civil Service Department had an exciting announcement to make. As of July 2026, which is the projected date, our exam process will change tremendously. The HELP programs end July 2026. Starting after that, they are going to have something called the vacancy posting exam, which means we will post our vacancies on a state-supported system. That will serve as the exam. When applicants apply, it's similar to a training and experience. The system will rate the application based upon the requirements of the job and come up with a score from that rating. So it will no longer be a standardized exam administered 3 months after someone's in a position. We won't have to wait for scores. The scores will be tabulated through the system and provided at the end of that vacancy posting period. So that's a combination, really it's similar to a training and experience rated exam, where your application that's supposed to meet the guidelines, directed to meet the guidelines, the system will give you a score based upon your response to those requirements. So we won't be doing the exam process like we've done since civil service was began. So we all thought that was a great idea. They are working through the kinks. They are going to have several working groups. Of course, we volunteered to sit on the working groups so that we can make sure that all of our questions are answered and that our workflow is factored into the configuration of that system. But it will be a state-supported system for applications. And they said it's vacancy open competitive list or something like that. But the gist of it is that we won't have to do the exams like we've been doing since civil service began.
So the civil service exams are going away?
They're going away. Wow. They're still calling it an exam, but it won't be that standardized written exam that we've been used to, which was music to our ears.
Shauna?
So things do change.
I actually went to the NYSEC board meeting Monday and Tuesday, and one of the issues that came up amongst my colleagues in other counties was that they loved the fact that there was the HELP program, and they found it very helpful in filling positions that had been open for years. The one concern that they said they're having right now is that those that have been placed in supervisory roles are now being required to take the test.
Promotional exams were always exempt from HELPs because promotional exams require so much time in a competitive class position that's directly related to that exam. I'm not sure if that's going to change too much, but we have been successful in the titles that we've submitted. As of our last count, I know definitely there was over 110 titles that we had submitted to the HELPS program. And they've also come up with a way that part of the condition was that you remain in the non-competitive status until the HELPS programs end, but they kept extending it. So now people have been in that status 2 years. without any permanent status. But they've come up with a way where we can make them permanent, but we're just waiting for that rules resolution to be approved by the state. So anyone who's been in that HELPS program title for 6 months can be made permanent without waiting till July 2026. But there still hasn't been any major move toward the promotional titles.
Gotcha.
So we're, one step at a time. Maybe by the time it ends, there will be something else for promotional titles.
Yeah. I think what they were saying was that people that have been promoted into these roles have been doing these roles, and now all of a sudden they're being forced to take an exam despite the fact they've been doing the job for 6 months.
Correct. So. And again, those exams may not have been scheduled.
Yeah, that was the issue.
So they're waiting
That's
still
right.
for those exams.
Yeah.
So I'm green out of college for police training, let's say. And now I have to file an application for this. Is that right? And then are we going to be running training sessions to help people fill these out?
We sometimes do, even now. We have our Civil Service 101, but I think the more we can do, the better we can prepare our applicants. Before any of this goes into, go live, there will be a whole lot of training sessions, not only for the municipalities that participate, but we'll also have to be doing training sessions for prospective applicants. We have done, since I've been here, 2. Ashley did 2. So it can be incorporated into our training and development.
I see Heather's hand is up.
Yes.
Heather?
I would also like to add that the police officer deputy sheriff exam will still be a written examination. That will not change. It's just the other titles that will change to this new format.
Right.
Heather, you were a little bit muffled. I didn't hear and understand exactly what you said. You said which there's still going to be some exams?
For police officers, deputy sheriffs, yes. Because there are so many other requirements other than the exam for those titles.
I see. Okay. What I'm concerned about, of course, is our real efforts toward diversity in our workforce. And I just want to make sure that people are still going to be encouraged to make these applications and
Right.
apply for jobs.
That will still be part of our efforts in human resources to make sure we have applicants for the actual positions.
That's good.
So that's the first announcement. The second one, we will be going as soon as we get.
I think Veronica wanted to ask a question.
That's all right. Now I've lost my train of thought. One is if you need extra money to throw a farewell party for the civil service exams.
Let's wait till it happens first.
All right. And then I guess I should know this, but what is it like now to submit an application, say go on the county job website, find a vacancy for a entry-level position and apply versus what is it, I don't know if it's just emailing documents or filling out an automated form with a bunch of fields. What's it like now, and what will it be like when, if under this new process?
So currently now you post on our vacancy page, you have to create an account, fill out the application, put all of your information in the application itself. So all the job duties you've had at previous jobs, you have to type all of that out. You can attach resumes and cover letters as attachments, but the application itself is what gets reviewed, not the attachments, to see if it meets the minimum qualifications.
So people already do have to put all this information in a form that could plausibly be evaluated by a computer
now by
program.
Staff.
Right, yeah. It is evaluated, but could plausibly be interpreted to some level by an algorithm.
And there's some discretion with staff. We have an appeals process if we don't see that those qualifications actually match what we're looking for. So there is an appeals process, and we go from there, which is why when this system comes about, we have to make sure that our job descriptions are written plainly and cleanly so that an automated system can do the rating. And I'm sure there's going to be some sort of mechanism in place where if there are questions similar to the appeal process, that's part of what's going to come out with these working groups, to make sure that the applicants understand what's being asked for of them and that the system will rate them correctly.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. The second thing is a reminder of our Lunch and Learn that's scheduled for June 18th. We've been successful with lunch and learn sessions with our municipalities, and so we're bringing it closer to home and having it for departments. And department heads, anyone who submits paperwork for HR, they're welcome to attend, and we'll go over all the topics from civil service to benefits to any questions that they may have of HR. We're definitely trying to be more of a partner to departments rather than simply transactional. And that note, and just to remind you that our HR newsletter, I think this is the second one that's come out. If you have not seen it, please look at your emails. We're kind of proud of the newsletter where you will get an opportunity to meet HR staff as well as hear some of the announcements of things that are coming up. And some of the departments are also using the newsletter for news from their departments. Larry?
All right, now the exciting numbers part. All right, so we'll go down through as our usual. Staff totals, we have 794 county staff on the books, 327 election workers, and 61 JTPAs, the Job Training Partnership Act, through Workforce. For recruitment, we posted 34 new positions last month on our website. Currently, there are 22 for county departments and 58 for the schools and the municipalities. As far as outreach for last month, Ithaca High School had a job fair that I attended, and it was very well received. Lansing High School is out there for part of a day doing mock interviews with juniors and seniors, which is always fun. And of course, the job alerts and all the community connections that I have that I usually do. Applications for the month, we had 503 come through. 345 of those were for the municipalities and 158 were for county departments. 1 civil service test got posted. 13 applicants for civil service exams. 5 tests were given with 7 people in attendance. We onboarded 14 people last month. 8 were appointed through the HELP program, which is a great number. 2 exit interviews. And then for our benefits, the folks that we onboarded, 5 took the dental, 3 vision, 11 opted for the health insurance. 8 of them opted in for our retirement. And then for leaves, we had 32 disability leaves, 14 cancer screenings, 14 bereavements, 4 jury, and my number ran off the page, 14 COVID, which was higher than last month by double. And as far as staff trainings, Samantha Almendinger is putting together and going to be starting up an Office Ready series that it will include time management, customer service, interpersonal communication, and diffusing strategies. And this will be mostly geared towards front of office staff. And the great thing about Samantha putting this together, that all of these trainings will be based on scenarios that people will face in our county departments. That's all I have for that.
Randy.
I'm not sure I heard this correctly, but 34 people went out for disability or applied for disability. Are those county employees or is that?
Yeah, county employees. So that's 32 processes for it. So if somebody was out earlier in the month and then later in the month, right, it could have been the same person. That would just been another one that got filed.
Okay. And do you track that? And is that a rising number, a lowering number? I mean, just curious how that's looked at.
That number's pretty consistent from month to month. Yeah, we had 29 last month. Sherry Murray, she keeps track of all of those, and she's the one that files the claims and such.
I was just curious if there was a primary reason for those, or just it could be anything.
Could be anything, really, illness, injury, maternity leave, any of those things all would fall under that.
Okay, I forgot about maternity leave, so
Yeah.
we need more people to have kids, so that's good. Yeah. Also, Ruby, you mentioned the newsletter. I did read it, and I liked it, so thank you. And I believe there was something in there about offices for the aging caregivers. So both Newfield and Enfield do their own newsletters. So I submitted information on their caregiver along with the email for Ashley, maybe? Was it Ashley? I forgot who the email was.
Samantha.
Samantha. No, of the actual contact at
From
Office of Aging. So those types of things, I think, and so they're all doing newsletters now, which is great. So it's a good way for us to get some county blurbs out there too for that. So I just wanted to share that. So thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Ruby or Larry?
Thank you.
What I meant to say in Chair's report was that we will have an executive session, and we will probably take Resolution B when we come out of executive session. Also, Larry, while we've got you here, do you want to mention, tomorrow we have interviews for the whole legislature for the Director of Finance candidates, and I know there's been a scheduling change. Do you want to mention that?
Yeah, so tomorrow we were scheduled till 4, but we should be done by 2 or 2:30 instead tomorrow. So we'll shorten that day up, but we still will have a light lunch, so that's important to mention.
Okay.
Question.
Yes.
I have a question. This is stepping back a while, but the lunch and learn things you mentioned, where are those advertised or communicated?
For the county, we advertise through department head meetings, email. I think it was in the first newsletter. For the municipalities, we contact those contacts that we have that provide the information to HR. At one point, the staff was going out to the villages and to the towns, but we got better participation when it was held here. So we've been holding them here. I'm not sure where else is promoted, but various emails to all the towns and municipalities that we oversee civil services for.
Okay, let's move on to some resolutions then. Let's do Resolution A, Contingent Fund Appropriation, requesting use of contingent funds for up to $50,000 to expand parking access, including paid parking, planned for staff located in downtown Ithaca. That's county administration. Who would like to speak to this? Norma?
Do we need to move it?
I'm sorry, somebody move it, please. Randy and then Veronica.
We have a few of us at county administration working with the city of Ithaca to determine whether or not there are options for downtown employees who do not have access to parking currently to utilize parking garages or spaces. Again, it's in the preliminary stages, but we're trying to see if we can align some money along with that work.
So this is not, we don't have a particular place to spend it, we just want to have the authorization.
Correct, yes. Well, we are working through those logistics right now.
And don't forget, we're moving some offices over to a mental health building, for example. Shauna, then Randy?
Yeah, I guess I have a question in regards to, are these positions that have been negotiated through our contracts, our union contracts?
Yes.
Yeah, parking.
The parking is not a union, not a negotiated item.
Okay.
Randy?
This has been an ongoing issue for many years, I guess. So, I don't like it coming in the middle of the year. I think it's something we could have planned for earlier. I don't like it coming on contingency funds because I think we've used up all our contingency funds. Didn't we just allocate $1.5 million out of a contingency for social services?
No.
We didn't take that. I thought that's where that money was coming from, or we decided not to do it that way. Didn't our last legislature meeting, we take $1.49 million to pay for overruns in social services?
I was understanding that came from the fund balance directly.
Oh, we changed that, okay, so it did come directly from the fund balance. I know there's confusion about that, where that was, if we could reimburse the contingency fund, or, so it did come directly from the fund balance?
Yes, and it has not, it's not unheard of to reimburse the contingency fund either from the fund balance. So if the fund balance is depleted, that has happened before.
Okay.
But,
And so, and I realize we're moving people from this area over to the mental health building where there's very little parking. So is this really a solution for that? Or
No.
who is this solving the problem for?
no, there's, Al Goodcourse is coming off because I want to make sure that he has opportunity to speak to this because he's leading our charge, so.
Okay.
Corsa, did you want to speak to this?
I guess I'm
I just
wondering,
wanted to add a bit. I think one of the key things that we are trying to address is
yeah, is there any way that we could go into executive session? Because I feel that there are some contract issues that might come up here, and I think it would probably be better for us to discuss those in executive session.
Okay,
Yeah, it would directly relate to collective bargaining negotiations.
okay, then let's hold off on that. We'll postpone action on this until after executive session.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all right? Okay, of course, and we'll wait till we get into executive session, and then,
yes.
and then we'll talk about that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, then let's go to the one that we've added to the agenda, Contingent Fund Appropriation, Department of Social Services, 2025 budget adjustment increase to client transportation. Someone want to move that one? Veronica, seconded by Randy. Who wants to speak to this one?
Well, I don't see anybody from social services, so I can try to speak to this.
Thank you.
This is really just a realization that their transportation costs had increased, and they needed to adjust their budget to accommodate those increases for transports for clients. And what can't be covered with state reimbursement, they're requesting funds from the contingent fund to cover that balance of $46,000. Actually, it should be $46,121.16 because it's otherwise
Yes, we don't want to miss the 16 cents.
unbalanced. Yes.
Okay, so with that minor correction. Randy?
Is this for 2025 anticipated expense?
Yes.
Okay.
Other questions? Ready to vote? Those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, Frank, why don't you come up? Frank's got 3 resolutions that he asked. Apparently, they're time sensitive, and so we're moving them through this committee as opposed to F&I. Why don't you go ahead and explain them to us?
Okay, apologize for last minute. An urgent matter came up that needed to be addressed. I did originally have this for F&I on June 26th or 7th, whatever that date was, but because of an urgent matter, we needed to get these moving through. So I think the first one would be the resolution for the fund by Tompkins County funding in the first instance 100% of the total costs of the program in the amount of $14,952,127.
Which number resolution is this?
13335.
Yeah, 13335. Okay. Someone want to move that? Veronica moves it, seconded by Shauna. All right, now go ahead.
Sure. So the $14,952,000 is over the 5 years. That's estimated by the state with the state's numbers on what they're going to appropriate to Tompkins County as the subrecipient of the state. If you notice, the contract is from 2023 to 2028. That's because the state has had significant changeover, and the new staff is working really hard to try to get all the required documents to the municipalities. So this is a requirement. What's new here?
Back a little bit from the mic.
Back, okay. What's new here is that the state is requiring the county to reimburse the subrecipients first, and then the county goes for reimbursement with the state, which they're claiming will take 45 days once we submit. So that's a new process here. Traditionally, Tompkins County has requested the backup documentation and the invoices for reimbursement. Our office reviews it, finance office reviews it, we submit it to the state, and then it's like a pass-through. Now, the state is requiring the county to put the money up first, and then seek reimbursement from the state.
Would it come from just the county or from the three sponsors?
It's just the county. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
The reason for that is the county is the grantee from the state.
Well, I just hope that I can't imagine that we won't get reimbursed, but if it didn't, the county's on the hook for the whole thing. And so we probably need some kind of understanding from the other partners that if that were to happen, they'd pony up. Randy.
Is this funding over 5 years going back to 2023?
Correct.
Okay, so some of this money has already been billed?
Not yet.
Okay, and so is this budget number the budget number you expected, or is it a how do they come up with this number?
They have a formula that they come up with. There's several funding streams that come from the state, and I won't go into all the numbers and what the state covers. They come up with that number and put it as far as issuing a purchase order and ensuring that their procurement process is followed. How they come up with it, they have their own formula, I don't know. But what I can tell you is that we know what funding streams are available for projects. And I estimate to the best of my ability every year with the help of TCAT and Gadabout to make sure that that amount of money for those projects is covered in the budget that you all approve.
Okay, thank you.
Shauna.
So essentially what's happened is that TCAT has fronted the money and never, up until now has really not had an issue doing that. What we recognized is with them purchasing 3 new buses and them having delivery of those, there were going to be some cash flow issues. And there was some concern about operations in the future. And so the more we looked into it, the more we realized, and New York State actually came forward and said, you guys have, misunderstood what's been happening and what should be happening. Spoke with some of my colleagues at NYSEC Monday, and the way that if a municipality is the subrecipient is that we would front the money and then submit the information and then within 45 days get paid. And that's what has been happening with some of our other counties in the state. So not to say that we've been doing it wrong because it's worked for all of us, but I think now we're coming, to a part where it's not necessarily working because there are some cash flow issues at TCAP because they're making some really big purchases of buses. So.
What I did notice is the same language appears in the prior mass transit grant agreements. It appears the state just didn't require the county to front the money, but I looked at the 2018 to 2022 agreement. It has the same language that the state is relying on here. So, once this contract is signed and the resolution authorizes signing the contract as well, the state is contractually committed to make the reimbursement. Granted, there's, still the wimpy issue about, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. But there's a contract that would indicate we get paid. One of the things I noted in my email generally about this is that the state has an execution process, and before funds are actually distributed to TCAT on this, we'd want to have the contract back signed by the state so that we know that the contract is in place. And that's one of the reasons for expediting this, is so that the state's execution process, which takes a few weeks, can work its way through in time for us to have a contract and be able to reimburse TCAT before TCAT runs into its funding shortage.
Yeah, thank you for the explanations and the Popeye analogy.
Sorry, just to add one more thing. So one thing that we're negotiating next year is the MOU with Cornell on their specific ridership. The other thing that we're currently, I guess, in contract with the idea that each partner is going to pay a third of TCAP where the shortfall is. And so at any point, if, we realize that the feds are pulling back money or the state's pulling back money, then that would be where we come together as partners and say, a third, a third, a third. All three of us have to chip in and pay for the expenses, with the understanding that we want to keep the same TCAT services at an existing level.
Okay, anything else? Are we ready to vote on this one? Those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Which one do you want to take next, Frank?
Resolution 13331.
That's resolution authorizing subrecipient agreement with Tompkins Consolidated Area Transit, TCAT. Someone want to move that one? Randy? Seconded by Shauna. Go ahead.
So this is a requirement from the FTA that the county has an agreement with our subrecipients. It's part of our triennial review also. And it also ties into what the county needs in order to process federal payments.
Questions? Ready to vote? Those in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. Then we have 13344. Resolution authorizing subrecipient agreement Gadabout Transportation Services, Inc. Someone want to move that one? Shauna? Is there a second? Veronica?
Same explanation as the TCAT subrecipient. Feds require it in order to draw down federal funds to support their projects, and part of our triennial.
Ready to vote? Those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, Frank, thank you.
Thank you for the last minute. Hopefully it won't happen again, but thank you.
Well, sometimes things happen, Okay, are we ready to go in and to see if you folks want to go into executive session? Looks like we have two items in executive session. One is collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, and the other is the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. Someone want to move that we go into executive session? Veronica, seconded by Shauna. Those in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, it's going to take Rob a few minutes to shut down. Then when we come back, we will probably take action when we come back in session. Okay, we're back in session, and I want to take resolution that we began to talk about and then we postponed it, contingent fund appropriation. No, that's not the right one.
Resolution A, 10A.
Contingent fund appropriation requesting use of contingent funds for up to $50,000 to expand parking access, including paid parking plan for staff located in downtown Ithaca and county administration. Someone, did we have it on? Okay, so it's on the floor. Further discussion? Ready to vote? Those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. And the other one is contingent fund appropriation, reorganization of benefits staff in Human Resources Department, 13358. Did we want to put anything in there about encumbering it in contingency, as was suggested?
I like that idea, what Norma suggested.
All right. Is that all right with you, Ruby? Of course. Okay. Okay, well, wherever is appropriate in there, if you can suggest that, Norma, we'd appreciate that. All right, let's move that one. Shauna, seconded by Randy. Any further discussion on this one? With that change, all in favor? Any opposed? Any committee members' reports? Since it's after 11, I hope they're not too long. All right, why don't we plan to adjourn then? Thank you all. Good meeting. A lot of information.